Recently, I reached out to a dozen of my friends around the world. Each of them works in a position where they are the one who decides who does get booked and who does not get booked for their respective wrestling company. And I asked them this question. When you are solicited by a brand new talent for the very first time, what is the thing that makes you decide not to offer them a booking? And I tabulated up the top 8 responses I got, and all of that is next. I'm Mike Quackenbush. This is Till We Make It. And if you're passionate about the craft of professional wrestling and you're never done learning all about it, well, I happen to think you're in a pretty good place. So take a second, subscribe to the channel down below right now. That way you never miss out on a video. I've been fortunate in my career to work in front of the camera as a wrestler, commentator, ring announcer, and even a referee. And I've worked behind the scenes as well as a promoter, booker, coach, consultant, and agent. And I want to share with you some fascinating information I got by calling on a group of my colleagues, each of whom works either as a promoter, booker, or the head of talent at their respective wrestling organization. And I want to tell you a little bit about what I learned as a result of asking them this question. When a new talent approaches you about the possibility of getting booked, what is the reason that you would decide not to offer that person a booking? And after I got all the results in, I was surprised to discover, one, the variety, but also which things were weighted most heavily. And I'm going to share that with you today. Before we dive in, just a little context about the 12 professionals who were kind enough to participate in my survey. These 12 people represent 5 different countries. 7 of them have been in the business longer than 10 years. The other 5 have been in less than 10 years. All right? Now, without further ado, number 1 with a bullet comes as no surprise to me, and it was mentioned by an overwhelming majority. It's gear. If in the promotional materials supplied to the wrestling company, the wrestler in question seems to be wearing gear which is poorly maintained, unprofessional in appearance, or seems incongruous with the character they portray, this was the very first thing to disqualify them from consideration for future bookings. In a manner of speaking, the book is judged by its cover. Let's talk about reason number 2. And the second reason why a wrestler might not be offered a booking, physical appearance. Here, I heard some comments about what would be considered most desirable in a potential new hiree. They included having an athletic body type, being well-groomed, and cultivating a telegenic appearance. When you combine this physical appearance with the single thing cited most often, ring gear, it becomes clear how essential a strong physical presentation is. Let's talk about reason number 3. The third thing cited most often as a reason for not offering someone a booking came down to training. Do they come from a reputable training school with a great track record for producing talented wrestlers? These wrestlers were always given preference over those who came out of a school with little to no name recognition. I think it's worth mentioning. If you happen to be training at a wrestling school that has very little name recognition, is this a bad thing? No, I don't think that it is. However, it could potentially be an impediment to you getting booked if there are competing candidates who have a stronger resume. The fourth thing cited most often as a reason why a wrestler might not be offered a booking, their gimmick. And here I heard remarks of this kind, that gimmicks which were unclear, vague, or ambiguous, had confusing or poorly worded differentiating value propositions, or characters that were too niche or esoteric were all considered undesirable and would be an easy reason to not offer someone a booking. Let's move on to reason number 5. And number 5 on our countdown as we make our way from the item mentioned most often to the item mentioned least often, an entitled attitude. And here I heard all kinds of goofy stories about things pro wrestlers would say to the person they hoped would book them for an event, including stories of wrestlers who said they will not help with the setup of the event beforehand, who expected to have their YouTube matches reviewed for them, who made outrageous financial or logistical demands of the company before demonstrating they have any consistent value, or refusing to participate in certain types of matches. And here I heard 2 stories about a tag team wrestler who would not take a singles booking and one of a singles wrestler who would not participate in a tag team match. And each of these seemed to indicate to the people responding an attitude of entitlement. Let's move on to number 6. The 6th thing mentioned most often came as no surprise to me. It's social media presence, and I heard a few key comments about what would disqualify someone for consideration for future bookings. They included those wrestlers who espouse polarizing political views, who engage in immature drama, or seem eager to pick fights on social media. And the 7th most mentioned reason why a wrestler would not be offered a booking came down to either poor communication skills or unprofessional communication with the decision maker. Here I heard remarks about poor spelling, a lack of capitalization or punctuation, or an informality to the messaging, like starting with the line, "Sup bro, when you gonna bring me in?" This was mentioned so many times, it must be an epidemic right now in professional wrestling. You're going to need to up your professionalism in your communications, especially in really competitive marketplaces, if you're ever hoping to get booked. And now, last but not least, this one really resonated with me. Adding a middleman to the mix is a huge mistake. After you've headlined a few pay-per-view events, then you can introduce a middleman to the mix. I might expect to have to deal with Ric Flair's agent or Bill Goldberg's handler. But shy of that mark, the introduction of a middleman into the mix is a huge deterrent to being offered a booking. So, if you happen to have your significant other or your Aunt Carol functioning as your agent, your manager, or your representative, and you think that that makes you appear to be high status to the people you are hoping will book you, it is actually quite the opposite. It is considered such an annoyance, it is an immediate disqualification from consideration. I can't say I'm overly surprised by any of these, although some of the stories that came with the reasons were a little bit shocking to be sure. And there were also some one-off reasons which didn't get multiple votes, and so they didn't make the list. So there you have it. 8 things that could prevent you from being offered a booking. And were you surprised to learn any of these? Like about people's entitled attitudes, or how much importance was placed on your overall physical appearance? Let me know down below in the comments section. And feel free to leave your suggestions for future Till We Make It topics. I know you are awesome. Here's how. Because to me, anyone who has never done learning, who is always seeking out more knowledge about the game, those people are awesome. And the fact that you've turned up here hoping to up your game is how I know you are awesome. So go on, keep being awesome. I will keep on making the videos, and together we will keep on faking it.